Hello, hello. It's a micro. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Nice. I like your try. What is
I so my name is Kiran Vaska. Um, I am currently with the Government of India. I'm a IAS officer of Madhya Pradesh cadre, currently working in the central government. So I work at the National Health Authority, responsible for running two programs. One is the Pradhan Mantri uh, uh, Jan Arogya Yojana, PMJY, which is the world's largest publicly funded health assurance scheme rather. It's not an insurance scheme. And then the other one is the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. To give you a brief overview of what these do, because NHA as an entity may not be well known, at least as of today, for those who are not PMJY using PMJY. So NHA was formed in 2018 along with the genesis of the PMJY program. You are all aware. So those online cannot listen to me if I don't speak on the mic. Because I'm pretty sure the one at the last row can obviously hear me. So let's do it without the mic then. Okay. So NHA was started, originally it was called the National Health Agency. It, it started along with the PMJY program. In fact, you all know PMJY much better as Arogyasri here. So Arogyasri started here, but PMJY is the national program with similar benefits of certain cover for the entire family, and that cover gets what you call reconverted or other what you replenished once every year. It's a 5 lakh cover, etc. etc. So after that, in 2020, 15th of Prime Minister announced the launch of this new thing called the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. Originally, it was called the National Digital Health Mission. And the objective, I'll come to the what the objective, broad objective is, etc. etc. And then it's been like just about 2 years. The first 1 year was the pilot stage. After that, in September 2021, there was a national launch of the scheme. And since then, uh, from the pilot that started in UTs, we then went out to different states and started also interacting with the private sector. So today, what I'll try to demystify what ABDM is, what we are trying to do, because this is not a program or a system or an IT software that government is building all by itself, and it's only be something, it will be something run by the government, and it's not a typical government software. It's like an ecosystem that we want to build. The objective of ABDM is to create that ecosystem with the ultimate objective of digitizing the health ecosystem, health space, that can help provide the quality health services at affordable prices, and also while ensuring inclusivity and privacy, security, etc. So with that, I'll just some. Okay, so this is this is how the typical India stack looks like. Yeah, in fact, our country, whatever we are doing currently, it's not something that started like ABDM. It hasn't just come out of the blue. We have been doing a lot of things consistently. Like in 2009, we had Aadhaar, and we know where Aadhaar is today. Almost every one of us has an Aadhaar. And then after Aadhaar came eKYC in 2012. Even until 2012, we had not fully realized the potential of Aadhaar, because at the end of the day, the former CEO of NHA, who was the founding CEO of Aadhaar also, keeps telling the story that when Aadhaar started, nobody knew what to do with it, because it is not a proof of citizenship. It does not provide it does not entitle you to any service. And then we are saying it's a digital token. Although you get a card or a paper or etc., you can't do anything with it. So it was difficult to say what is the use of this thing. So the first use case came in the form of eKYC. That was when banks started using it, and in fact, I would say the biggest push came when Jio started doing eKYC. That was the first thing, and then it multiplied. Then came e-sign. This is again another way of saying that I am me who is signing this document. And we all know how much e-sign is being used for IT returns, etc., and a lot of use cases. Then, building on top of it came DigiLocker. That digital locker, where we are able to keep all our documents, from university certificates to our driving licenses to, even for that case, Aadhaar also, and all of this. Then came UPI, and certain events such as the demonetization event, etc., gave a push, and whatever had been created until then, and also the Bharat Bill Pay system, actually created the UPI revolution. So UPI today would not have been possible if we didn't have Aadhaar, if we didn't have eKYC, if we did not have all the technology behind it. And one more important thing that we also need to note is consent artifact. The consent artifact is a digital artifact created by MeitY, the IT ministry. That's actually it's a digital token created based on Aadhaar, saying that where we are able to record consent digitally. So all of this made UPI what UPI is today, and we don't need to tell UPI story where we are. We are doing more than 9 billion transactions a month, which is more than all transactions combined, all credit card transactions combined. So that is the kind of numbers. We then went on to Bharat Bill Pay. Again, the numbers are staggering. That is one unified billing system. Today, if you are able to pay your electricity bill, your DTH bill, if you are able to pay your water bill, water services bill using a payment application, it is because of BBPS. You all know it. You build solutions. Many of the private sector build solutions around it. The FASTag and GST are the additions. The latest to this addition was the ABDM. ABDM actually leverages on Aadhaar, eKYC, e-sign, DigiLocker, all of this. So basic thing what I'm trying to say is, whatever is currently happening in the country is actually an incremental thing. It's basically a set of serendipitously developed open APIs built for a digital India. So that is how we started our journey. This is where we are. So like I mentioned, what is the vision of ABDM? What does ABDM aim to do? Quite simply put, because that is something we need to simply read, because vision is it's a very simple, straightforward statement which says objective is to create a national digital health ecosystem. Please remember, it is to create an ecosystem, not a software. I mean, it's not like, let's say PMJY, where I am actually building a transaction management system. Everybody is coming onto it, logging it, and starting to use it. What I'm saying is, idea is to activate every stakeholder in the digital health space and convert them into digital. And where there is a provision of wide range of data, information, infrastructure, and while the idea is to leverage whatever is available in open, interoperable, standard-based digital systems. So idea is that whatever is being built is going to be an open system, API-based system, and open source. So the entire ABDM code is open source. It's not a proprietary thing, in order to ensure that there is no vendor lock-in or anything like that. And finally, idea is to ensure that security, confidentiality, and privacy of the data principal, who is the patient or individual here, is maintained. So we have broad guiding principles on the technology front and policy front while we are doing this. On the technology side, we say there has to be something called a single source of truth. Simply saying that there has to be, for example, a patient's ID or an individual ID or individual record there has to be one source, or rather identity has to have one source. I did not have multiple entities creating it or storing copies of it. I have one part here, I have one part. The single source of truth is like, that is when we create all those registries. I'll come to the registries that I come in. Those registries are the basic databases which will actually help in identification, authentication, etc. Federated architecture. This is again another important principle where we say that data stays wherever it is created. We are not collecting and creating one big pool of data. It is not like Aadhaar, where there is one vault and everything is stored there. Every health record, today I go to hospital A creates my digital records. It is in hospital A wherever it decides, on their local servers, on their cloud, or wherever. The idea is to be able to provide these data on demand. Then open APIs and interoperability, like I said. And then the India Enterprise Architecture Framework, the broad principles behind the Enterprise Architecture Framework, which ensure that the systems are secure, interoperable, and then there are certain standards that are set. On the policy front, privacy and security by design, in the sense, no data of yours will move from place A to B without your explicit consent. Then user inclusivity. We would like to ensure that from a smartphone user to somebody who is in a village who does not even have a phone should be able to use this system or any system developed out of this. Voluntary participation. Another important part. The participation in the scheme is voluntary. Nobody is being forced to come and join this. It's not a mandate that everybody has to come and create an ABA number. Every doctor has to come onto HPR. Everybody has to start using the system. It's a voluntary. The idea is to create what we call a FOMO, fear of missing out. We create so much value that people find value. People are like drawn to it. They actually start using it. And then wellness centric. I mean, the whole objective is to move from what you call a physician-centric system or a program-centric system to a patient-centric. So that's the broad objectives.
You're getting?
I think I'm still managing. So what happens in ABDM? I mean, if this is my elevator pitch, those 2-minute thing, if anybody asks me, what do you do in ABDM? Under ABDM, we just do 3 things. One, we enable interoperability of health data. That is, data created by one health information provider. A health information provider could be a hospital, a clinic, a lab, a diagnostic center. Created by one entity should be accessible and usable by another entity, which we call a health information user. Again, it could be a hospital or any other entity. For example, I go to hospital A today, my record is created. Tomorrow, I go to hospital B. The hospital B would like to see my earlier records, right? So there has to be a seamless movement of files from A to B, the data from A to B. So this is what we provide through what we call a health information exchange. I'll come to what a health information exchange is. The second one is interoperability of claims or insurance claims. Today, as we all know, not a single health insurance claim in our country gets processed automatically. everyone gets every claim gets processed manually. As a result, you wouldn't believe the processing cost of a typical health insurance claim is anywhere between 500 to 600 rupees. The processing cost. Therefore, if you want to go towards universal health coverage, where insurance becomes an important part, and OPD, we want to bring in OPD. We all know a typical OPD cost is like, if you are depending on what kind of what level of a doctor or what kind of popularity the doctor has, which locality you are going to. We all know it ranges from anywhere between 100 rupees to 500 to maybe even 1500 rupees. If my processing cost itself is 500 rupees, getting that from insurance becomes unviable. So one of the objectives is to build what we call a health claims exchange that enables interoperability of claims and makes this processing easier, faster, and more reliable. Lastly, interoperability of health services. Again, we feel that there is always a demand supply gap in providing health services, and because of the silos that could get created on account of using one platform. Simple example is e-commerce. You want to buy something on Amazon, you have to be on Amazon, the seller has to be on Amazon. We want to break that, at least right from now, because we are starting literally from scratch. We want to say that you could be on application A, your provider could be on application B, but both of you should be able to discover each other, book a service, avail a service, pay for it. So this is what the unified health interface is. These are the three things that we do under ABDM. Simply put, this is the broad idea of what ABDM is. And this is how the ABDM tech stack looks like. Again, built into these three different things. You read this stack from the bottom up. At the very bottom are the digital public goods that were already created, or certain goods that are being created as part of the ABDM, or as part of the digital mission. Like I said, cross-domain DPGs, Aadhaar, UPI, DigiLocker, consent artifact, etc., and the digital registries, which is the ABHA numbers, which uniquely identify. I mean, simply put, again, like this could be a question as to why you are creating a new number when there is already Aadhaar. We all know the concerns related to Aadhaar with respect to privacy. I just can't share an Aadhaar number easily. I have to have an Aadhaar vault. I need to encrypt it, and then somebody decrypts it. In order to avoid all that, we are saying the underlying thing is Aadhaar. On top of it, we give you a layer. And then professional registry. Today, you wouldn't believe, we actually do not know how many doctors we have. Seriously, we do not know how many doctors we have, and out of which how many are active. The registry, or all medical councils have their registries, right? Many of the doctors are actually dead. There's no update. And again, there is one list. This is where the single source of truth comes into picture. Andhra Pradesh Medical Council have their list. Telangana have their list. Of course, there have been attempts at the time of Indian Medical Council to you have one uniform thing. There is a web page where you can actually search for your number, and then you can get your details. But today I am in AP. Tomorrow I go to MP. I register myself there. There's no interoperability. There's no single source. So idea is to create that single source of truth, and any database is useless unless we start using it. Then the health facilities registry. Again, how many hospitals do we have? How many labs do we have? Is there a specific identity? How do we, and is it authenticated? Even after authentication, how are we actually using it? And then drug registry. Once again, we do not have a single drug registry. There is an entity called SEDESCO with the Ministry of Pharma that gives permissions for new drugs, and then state governments give manufacturing license. So somebody who has manufactured in Uttarakhand can come and sell it in Telangana. And you try to verify that is it really that person. There's no single database to test. So that is where we are saying that we need to have a drug registry. And on top of that, we have built these exchanges. The unified health interface for interoperability of health, what you call services, where you can discover something. I'll tell you in more detail what it means. Basically, the idea is to provide those APIs through which you can find a doctor, you can find a lab, you can find a blood bank, you can find find an organ for put a request for organ donation. Then the health information consent manager, this is where the exchange of record happens. I'll give you more detail on top of it. And then the claims exchange. We have built these. And these are again based on OPI standards, and we have exposed the OPIs. You come actually and connect it with one end. And then you are exposed to everybody else on the other side. The top layer is where you all commit to each other. This is where the user interfaces get built in the form of applications, web-based, mobile-based, device-based. I mean, the what you call medical, what you wearables, etc., where we say that you use these APIs, you use these standards to build on top of it. If you are building the unified health, you are part of the unified health interface, you actually become an end user application or a health service provider application. On the health information consent manager side, you have a personal health record app where you actually or an LMI solution. And on the claims hospital side, where you are actually helping the hospital to build or upload their claims, or you are on the payer side, where you are actually helping the insurance company adjudicate the claims and pass the claims. So this is where the innovation, or this is where the work of entities are going. All of you are going to come in. Public, we will develop some app because there has to be a reference app. Because unless there was BEAM, you never knew what you could do with UPI. So there is a reference PHR, there is a reference EUA, there is a reference HSPA. For the PMJY program, there will be a provider application and a payer application because we have to run the existing insurance program. But the objective is to say that we need to give choice to the users. Users should not be limited to BIM. How many of us is BIM actually? I don't know. One, two. I use Google Pay. So I work for government. I use Google Pay. So, but the idea is we've actually demonstrated what can be done, and then there is innovation, and then ease of use, and it depends on, and the innovation comes in. So that's the basic idea. So,
Quick question.
yeah,
Will you be sharing this presentation?
yes, we'll share this. No problem. I'll share this. Then, what does that first thing, that exchange, the information exchange, the HIE consent manager, what is it? Basically, it is this layer that sits in between a health information provider and a health information user and uses the registries for authentication. Let's say today I go to, let's say, Apollo. I go to Apollo Hospital. The HMIS system that is being used in Apollo is integrated with ABDM. That is, they have those. They are linked to the system through the APIs. I go and give my ABA number, or for that case, even Aadhaar number. Using Aadhaar, they'll again create my Aadhaar. And then a consultation happens. At the time of consultation, he requires my records from, let's say, Medanta or AIMS. Now, he actually sends a request. In fact, I'll show you a small video as to how it works because it is already live and people are using it. He actually sent, and that was created using two entirely different private applications. So he sends a request, and once the request is sent, it goes to the consent manager, it hits me, and the user has to give a consent. Yes. Once the consent is given, because the data is being stored wherever it is being created, a link, we only maintain a table that has links to this, the endpoints, URLs. That is then shared with the HIP, and the data exchange happens between the HIU and the HIP. And in what form does it happen? That we have defined. We use HL7 FHIR, the Fast Health Interoperable Resource, and we have created 7 different profile types, HI types, which includes a diagnostic record, a discharge summary, a wellness record, which are comprehensive enough to cover all possible different scenarios. So basic idea is I create, once a patient comes to me, I ask for records which are coming in FHIR. I am resolving them, opening it up and showing it to you. And then you are doing your entry, whatever prescription or whatever diagnosis you have. You are creating a new record and then sending a link so that the HIECM maintains the new link. And you as an individual user using one of the PHR applications can choose to download all of them, put it in your locker, or on demand get it whenever you want. So that is the basic idea. So this is where, yes.
The health information exchange that is sitting in the center is actually not storing any records.
It's not storing any records.
You're only fetching from the different providers.
We only have a table where we have links.
The mapping to each one.
Yes.
And even that probably
For each care context.
Yeah. So whatever is saying, let's say I have the master record of which hospitals I have visited
Mhm.
about myself.
Yes,
So unless I tell,
Hmm.
nobody else will know where I have actually gone.
absolutely.
So it is my prerogative that I share that fetch my record from this
Correct.
or this or this.
Correct. Correct.
So in which case, let us say if a particular health information provider, a
Hmm.
hospital,
Hmm.
is not ABDM compliant,
Hmm.
will it not become a problem?
Yes. See, that is where if that one of the hospitals that I go,
Yeah.
if it is not ABDM compliant,
Right.
that means my records created in that hospital are not linked.
Not linked, and it's of no use for me.
It's not no use. Yes, that is why the objective is to bring all hospitals onto this.
That's true, but we cannot force them.
It's only a matter of what you call, again, like I said, we could get a regulation. See, simple thing. I mean, and we are already discussing this at the government level, saying that today I bring a regulation saying that all health providers should enable, should allow or give a facility that a patient who comes to them should be able to access all his or her health records seamlessly, digitally, by providing us a unique ID called Aadhaar. If it is a regulation, it comes in. Then and then we give time, saying that big hospitals come online by in the next 6 months, smaller ones next 9 months, others come in. And apart from that, we are also trying to provide ways and means for smaller hospitals because it's actually the marginal cost of integrating with ABDM for a large hospital chain which is already having an IT system is very less. But maximum questions are asked by these guys.
See, it is not only that. The point that I'm trying to make is, let's say small or mid-sized hospital or provider will now have to make these records available 24 by 7
Hmm.
on a public cloud kind of thing. Right? Of course, with protection and all that,
Hmm.
security and all that. Today, they may not be actually putting it on the cloud to make it available to everyone. But if this comes into play, then you will have to actually make it available because you never know who will
Yes.
be querying at what time.
Yes, yes. So this is where this is a very valid question.
So I think
That-
we're also talking about federated architecture.
Correct.
So at what level you're going to store will
Correct.
again be determined
Correct.
whether it is a big hospital or not.
Right.
And
So
also I think talking about the point that you raised, I recently read that the government is also considering some kind of an incentivization scheme for
I'll tell you. Yeah. So first to answer this question is an HMI so used for huge storage with small things. So it's like you simply create your like a Gmail account. You can simply create your account using by creating an HPR ID, professional ID, register your facility. From day one, you are using an HMIS which is ABDM enabled. So records are there. There is one cloud. So you are choosing to put it on a cloud that is provided by the government because you don't want to spend on it. Tomorrow you have your own cloud. You can transfer all the data into your cloud, but make it available. So there is a health data retention policy. There is a health data management policy. So when you are part of ABDM, you are expected to comply with these policies. That is where this comes. And I'll talk about the incentive scheme also.
So is what will be the cost involved in storing on HMIs for the small ones if they want to use it?
Zero.
Zero. Okay.
It's free of cost.
So it's like a system that's provided by the government.
Government. Plus, there are private solutions also in case you want to do it.
Sure.
Some solutions are giving it free of cost for smaller clinics.
Sure.
Some are costing as much as 500 rupees per month, which in my opinion is not much. If I am even a clinic, a doctor might be earning much more in the single day. So that is the basic. Of course, business models will evolve. There will be competition, and there will be questions of I am using one system for a long time. Tomorrow he increases the price. What happens? That is where we are saying data should be portable to a new one. That is why we are giving. That is why the reference applications are always there as a balancer, so that nobody just takes away something. Tomorrow today you are using a private application. Tomorrow you find it unviable. Please migrate to a government solution. It may not be as excellent and provide all those extra features that you might have, but it will make sure that you are up and running. So that's the idea. So this is how the consent manager works. And overall, this is where at the time of consent, you use the consent artifact created by Meiti to actually do it. The consent artifact also I'll show in that video. That's very good.
You're using blockchain background?
No blockchain. No blockchain.
Because it does everything that a private blockchain doesn't.
I know, but then see, typically you use a blockchain when you are like maintaining something like a ledger. Right. A typical blockchain use is like you have a public record which everybody is writing into, and where no individual has one individual has the right to overwrite it or do. So here the operation is like everybody is individually writing, and we are on the record that they were already doing, and we are only maintaining a link table to it. So as of now, at least we don't find blockchain to be really relevant here, or rather, we may be doing part of it, but we didn't find the necessity to go into that. But we are not close to
All
it.
the features are similar to the private, like 80% of them are private blockchains.
Good
No, I think
or bad?
more importantly, I think the data cannot be changed, right, on a blockchain, assuming that.
Here also you can't change the data.
I mean, well, we can say that it cannot be changed, but then let's say it's ultimately a function of whether the data gets updated on a particular health provider, right? I mean, if someone has access to that and they update it, my health records are at risk, isn't it?
So what is happening today then?
There's no difference right now. That's what I'm saying. And we're moving forward, as you were saying. If we say that blockchain, I mean, if we believe that blockchain records are immutable, why don't we? I'm not for or against it, but I'm just saying that if we say that the blockchain is immutable, the data on blockchain, then why don't we use that? Because that will give me more assurance that my data is safe. Tomorrow, if I have a fight with some
Right.
hospital,
So let's think about what data I would be storing in that blockchain. Would I be storing the entire health record in the blockchain? Or a hash created of the existing data on the blockchain, so that some change happens here, the hash value doesn't match, and then you are not. So it could be done, but then maybe that will come. I'm not saying that, like I said, it's not a closed idea. Yes.
So, you mentioned about doctors registering and doing the HMIS. The prescription is just one part, right? The diagnostic, the lab, the pharmacy. Yes. So, are we also looking at how to onboard the diagnostic chains and the pharmacies?
SRL is on board, Lalpath is on board. There's something called Priolio, which is again a lab LMI software. They are on board. So we are working with everybody,
All stakeholders.
all stakeholders. So HFR, the facility registry, actually means anybody who creates health records. Even a Ayurveda center also can be a facility. Yeah. And this is the other exchange, the unified health interface. Like I said, this is what typically the systems are currently. You are on Practo, you have to be, your doctor has to be on Practo. You only find doctors who are on Practo, and then you are served by them. At 11 o'clock in the night, let's say you are looking for a doctor because your son or daughter is not well. You only can find whichever doctor is available on Practo. What if there was somebody who is available very close by, but who is on a different platform? So from here, we want to move to here. Simply something, and so this basically the UHI set of protocols, something like SMTP, which allows you to send an email from Google to Yahoo. So similarly, this is about the whole idea is that you integrate with one entity, or automatically talking to n number of entities. You don't have to individually integrate with everyone else. So whereas here you would have to do it, and you know what happens because of this. For example, Cerner and Epic control 65% of US healthcare market, and then they command the market. They challenge. They set the standards. We don't want that, and there are entry barriers because of that. Today there is a small new application that comes in, and it wants to enter the ecosystem. The entry cost is bigger if it is a platform-based thing. How many e-commerce platforms have come up after that without enough corporate backing? If somebody has an idea, can they come into a e-commerce platform today so easily? ONDC might help once it comes in, but the objective is UHI, at least as of today, will ensure that this kind of democratization happens, the entry costs come down, and then there is more greater innovation. I mean, and then the idea is the end user, the patient, has choice of using whatever service, and also the doctors or the providers also have a choice. Today, I'm not bound to be only on one platform. If I'm away, then maybe I'm scared that I lose one metric. And from on this side, we have enabled UHI in such a way the protocol actually helps you to search for a provider by name, by location, by type of rating, by type of, and different parameters. So you will not be, you as an end user will not be like, or a provider will not have to fear that you will lose out on your customers if you are not directly connected. So that's the basic idea. And the aim of UHI is basically to increase digital consultations, make it easy to book a physical consultation, look for ambulatory services, labs, a lot of service. Every health service can actually technically come on. So we have protocols for each of these services, and then you, as and when you are integrating with each one of them, you start becoming available, or you start becoming searchable or discoverable from the other end, from the user side. And the idea is to expand the digital health market by improving access, like improving discoverability of new entities, removing those entry barriers, and then verified providers. We say that when you are integrating on UHI, either from the provider side or using it from the user side, you use those registries. You be part of HFR, you be part of HPR. Even, for example, let's say existing applications today, when you want to onboard a doctor or any service provider, there is a verification cost to it. So by saying that, by default, if you want to part of this, you can pick somebody who is already on HFR or HPR. So your verification cost is coming down, because the credentials of the service provider, either be it a doctor or a nurse or any other kind of healthcare provider, the credentials are verified by entities who are authorized to do it. So therefore, if somebody says I am MBBS doctor, it is verified by the concerned medical council who has given him the registration, and also verified by the concerned university who has given where he has studied. So that way, somebody is giving you a HPR number, you can automatically onboard. So your cost of onboarding new players comes down. So that is how we make things more and more easy for them. And then on the other side also, the patients who are coming in, people who are using it, also are coming with an Aadhaar number. So there is also that identity thing, and it also plays out even better when you look at the claims exchange as to how different insurance providers and healthcare providers, how their verification is done and all that. And then lastly, innovation, like I said, when there is opportunity to come in and start a new application, and you know that you won't have to surpass a huge wall of entry barriers. So there is greater push for it, and we want to promote more and more innovation on that side. So as of today, these people are already on UHI. So as an end user application and also as a health service provider application, these people are already on UHI. In fact, it is ready for national launch. We are only waiting for a date from maybe the Honorable Prime Minister to say that UHI is now operational. So these are there. More people can come in, and the whole sandbox and the exit process also is fully defined right now. Yeah.
So I have a question around diagnostics. So currently the diagnostics which are there, they are trying to understand if there is any problem related to a disease. Let's say we have a unique diagnostic center where we measure the rate of motion, mobility, and more around preventive healthcare. So do we get to be part of this platform?
Yes, absolutely. See, what is happening is, for example, I'll tell you, PHR is one thing, right? HMI is another. One simple solution example I'll give you. Let's say I as a doctor or a hospital I'm using an HMI solution. A patient has come in, and he has 5 years of his health records. Now, one of the challenges or one of the problem statements here is, how does the HMIs intelligently classify the documents that are already available and coming in the form of FHIR objects, open them up? Do I show them chronologically? Do I show them hospital-wise? Do I show them disease-wise? What is the best way of showing it to the doctor so that he can make the best possible decision at that point in time? That is a problem to solve. So that is where innovations will come in, because, and then the records are coming in unstructured, semi-structured, and structured format. To briefly, unstructured is I write something on paper, scan it, upload it. That is a typical prescription. Semi-structured, I create a PDF like typical diagnostic reports that come. Your Vijay Diagnostic Center sends you a link. Please, you can download your blood test reports from here. A typical PDF that is written. That is kind of a semi-structured. Fully structured is when it is actually coming in the form of machine readable data, the gold standard. So how do you consume the data that is coming in 3 different formats, read, use AI, ML, whatever, to actually intelligently show it to the end user who is a physician to make a best possible decision based on whatever symptoms the patient is having. This is one problem. Similarly, there are so many other problems that actually one can solve, and this is where a lot of opportunities will come. That's the idea. So the last of those 3 exchanges is where the claims process comes in. Today, a typical hospital that caters to patients who have multiple different kinds of insurance claims has to maintain an army of executives. Some of us, we all must have seen either directly or through a friend or a relative where discharge, everything is done in the morning itself. But you have to stay in the hospital until 4 o'clock. What is happening in between? This whole business is happening. Somebody is putting a claim, the other side is saying, no, 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 this is not accepted. Or what, I mean, there is a query, there is a response. Typically, the discharge time is about 4 hours. After everything is said, that sab kuch theek hai aapka. Right? Why waste that time? Even after the claim is submitted, the average amount of time that a hospital, the time in which a hospital receives the money is anywhere between 15 days to 2 years. So imagine the amount of capital that is getting locked up. While the insurance company, of course, is getting that float, it doesn't make sense. That is why the cost increases. Cost of providing the service increases. And then there is no auto adjudication. Everything is manual. Somebody physically has to see everything. Either it is sent over an email or it is sent to an IT system. That thing does not happen. So this is where we work with IRDAI first to standardize the claim document. What should a claim document have? Then digitize it. How would it look like? And then build this claims exchange, which is in a router, where we are saying today I am a hospital. I have patients coming to me who actually are catered by, let's say, 10 different insurance companies. Each of the insurance company has its own payer software. What I do is, a patient comes in, I prepare my claim in the standard that we have already defined, create a fire bundle out of it, and then push it to the exchange. It will have a header information that will read where there is a sender receiver information, and it will have a network registry of providers and payers. Payer is the insurance side, and it will simply route it. So you are effectively talking to only one system. And what we are saying is, for example, today there are close to 26,000 hospitals that are providing services in the PMJAY network. Now, all of them are using our system only. Some may like it, some may not like it. But then, at least because of the monolithic nature of the existing transaction management system, they have. What we are saying is, by bringing this in, we are actually decoupling the system, saying that there is a provider application, there is a exchange, and there is a payer application. And the provider application, because the standards are all set, and the information exchange is happening in a very standardized manner using a specific protocol. I, as a hospital, can choose to use any private software also. So a private software or the provider side or the payer side, which is subscribing to the protocols and following the standards that have been set, can actually become a service provider. So that is where you probably can build a better system than what we are building for a provider, or for that case, a payer. Maybe you can use AI/ML to make things much more easier, or maybe your HMIS itself that you're providing to a hospital can straight away create those firewalls. At the end of the day, all data is in HMIS if the hospital is using it. We are only asking them to re-enter the information here. What if you build a wrapper on top of HMIS and that creates these fire bundles and straight away pushes it to the exchange? So this is where we are, and then because the fire bundle that we are creating, again we are saying that the bundles can actually carry information again in unstructured, semi-structured, and structured. So the more we move towards structured nature, once the data comes in here, they can be auto-verified. Because even, for example, what we are doing in PMJY. In PMJY, let's say a patient comes to a hospital. First, a person comes to a hospital, we first check whether the person is eligible or not. That is where we hit the system. We have what we call a beneficiary identification system. It is a database of all people eligible. We get a saying that yes, eligible, and there is that limit. अभी वो 5 लाख रुपए में कुछ पैसा बचा हुआ है for which you can do the treatment, right? And then again something is uploaded saying that okay, the person has this problem and this is the solution or treatment that I want to give. It is again sent to the payer side for a pre-authorization request or an approval. There is somebody on this side, first what we call a CEX or a claims executive, whose simple job is to check A, B, C, D documents. I can automate this. If I can read these documents that are coming in, I can actually automate this and remove that person and remove the time that, and typically the time limit given is 1 day. Why can't I do it instantly? And next person is what you call a CPD, claims processing doctor, who actually looks at the diagnosis given or the test reports given and the treatment that they are planning to give, matches it and sees whatever is ignorant. Here also, why not use technology to match as much as possible? And maybe that layer can be. Then you have a accounting person, and then you have somebody who approves it. A typical government approval process. Similar thing must be happening on the private insurance side also. We have TPAs who do this job for them. So the idea is that the software that are being used on either side, by way of by enabling this FHIR-based or a standards-based exchange, we are paving the way for digitization and auto adjudication, which eventually the objective is to bring down the turnaround time and bring down the processing costs. So this is what the third exchange is trying to achieve. And this is again where there are opportunities to build systems on the payer side, on the provider side, systems that can actually help you catch fraud. Maybe you have a very intelligent solution that actually can say that, let's say somebody needs to do a knee replacement. So as a part of the documents, you have to also upload an X-ray. If you have an image analytics solution that reads this and says, oh, this is that doesn't actually come, is not of the same person in the first place. This is first of all not even an X-ray. The X-ray doesn't belong to the person. Even if it belongs to the person, that X-ray doesn't show that there is a problem. So there are image analytics solutions. Or if you have a solution, then you actually can be like what provide it, or there's an opportunity to develop something. Also similar thing on the payer side. So this is what this is where the opportunities are existing. So the HCX actually aims to do all this, increase the coverage eligibility, claim status. I mean, you should be able to get the claim status. Finally, be able to enter into smart contracts. Because if the insurance object, which says that under this insurance policy, a person of age 30, we are covering procedure A, procedure B, procedure C, and these are the standard treatment guidelines. This is given as an object itself, or a digital object, which is embedded into the provider software. Then automatically the contract that is existing and the data that is flowing is digitized. Then provider facility info. This is again where I'm saying the registries come into picture. We say that if you are participating in HCX, you as a hospital should have to first register in the facility registry. So today there is also fear by insurance companies that whatever claim is coming, is it coming from a what you call a real entity, or is it coming? So if somebody is using HFR, the insurance company doesn't have to again go do the entire verification process. And he is also putting in the HPR of the treating doctor, because that is also another important. The medical team information is also part of the insurance process. And then finally, the identity of the individual. So is this the same person that is actually what the insurance policy from you? So all this is actually enabled by those digital registries that ABDM is providing. So this is, and then policy details and digital contract management are like what you call a derivative of the whole thing. So that's the basic idea. Now, what is NHA doing to promote this? This is also a question, right? I mean, you want to digitize everything. How are you actually doing it? We are encouraging cloud-based. Even in AIMS, we are now actively discouraging them to create local data centers and all. Then we are actually trying to encourage QR-based thing. I mean, scan and share is one simple example I'll tell you. Today, in government hospital, whenever you go, be it AIMS or a district hospital or any major hospital, there's a huge line at the registration counter. And ultimately, by standing in the line and going to the counter, what are you providing? Your basic demographic details, and say that, wait with that. What the fellow does, okay, go to gastroenterologist. And then a parchi deta hai, then you go to that. For that, you are waiting for anywhere between 30 minutes to 2 hours in this. What we are saying is, if your HMIS is ABDM enabled, we have a QR generation, code generation facility for that particular hospital. It is placed at different places in the registration area. The patient has an ABHA number. He uses a PHR. Simply scans the QR code, and then sends his registration details automatically and gets a token number. Doesn't have to wait in the queue. The details are already there. All you need to go finally when your number comes is tell pet mein dard hai, wo kar de. So more than close to 300 different hospitals across the country are currently using this. this ABDM enabled. And there are innovations on top of it, because next level is, apart from this, can I do payments also? Can I do exchange of records also? For example, let's say I have stored all my records in my DigiLocker, and I go to a doctor, and then he says, I would like to see your documents. So doctor के सामने भी एक QR code. I simply scan the QR code, that information goes in, and the fact that I am sharing it, consent वहाँ पे as it is given, it is implied consent that I am sharing it. So immediately the message or the data pops up in front of the doctor in his computer in his HMI. So we are actually reducing the whole effort where doctor says कि मुझे record दिखाओ, then it is hitting a system, then it is coming to me and I am saying yes. So all these things can be. So we are encouraging QR code based systems wherever possible. Then standard terminologies. See, what is happening is, while at the end of the day, when there are like basic levels of interoperability, right? We all understand one is like the basic, what you call transport interoperability. Your typical TCP/IP protocol enables that you send one packet from A to B. That it is said. The second is what you call structure interoperability. When SMTP, when you say there is a header, name, subject, body, the fellow receiving it on the other side knows that okay, this is from to and this is the body, and is able to render it accordingly. Last one is semantic interoperability. Let's say I have to send date of birth. One system, let's say, stores date of birth in the form of DDMMYYYY, whereas the other system actually stores it in the form of YYYYMMDD. While I say date of birth, this is the key value pair, but once it goes there, a certain amount of processing has to be done at the other end. There is no pure interoperability here. That is where the semantic interoperability part comes in. So we are also encouraging use of standards such as SNOMED-CT, ICHI ports, so that information created in these fire bundles is easily read upon the other side, so that the processing time again becomes lower there. So that is what another part. And then intuitive UI UX. I mean, I don't have to tell much about it. That is what the private sector brings in. That is why I choose to use Google Pay and not Pay. Right? Then web and app-based systems. Today, more and more as we move, people are using tablets and mobile devices to access information rather than sitting on a desktop or a laptop. Then multi-tenant solutions, like one solution use multiple instances so that there is a change in one entity, everybody else is done. And then offline solutions, because of the connectivity issues, idea is to also promote offline solutions wherever required. Modular and reusable. You may create an HMIS that has all the features in the world, but I am just a small clinic. I don't care. I don't need a laundry module. So I should be able to pick and choose what I want. And lastly, microservice-based architecture, so that one change doesn't impact the other one. Yeah.
In the QR-based consent, what is the, how are you identifying the person? Is it on mobile number or ABDM number, like the Aadhaar number? If I don't have my Aadhaar number with me, are you verifying on the basis of my mobile number as well, or what's the other alternate way?
See, in the QR code-based thing, you are already logged on to your PHR app.
Okay.
And using the PHR app, you are scanning, and the prompt is coming onto your PHR. When you are saying OK, so the consent is that OK. You are willing to share the records.
It's like WhatsApp.
It's like WhatsApp. Like when you log into WhatsApp on your desktop, it shows you QR, you scan it, and that is when you log in, right? Or when you want to pair your two Bluetooth systems, you select a Bluetooth system and then you have to say yes from both sides. So that's the kind of
You can push the data to the LMIS software as well.
Yes, that's the idea. Then typical use cases. This is how the system is currently today. There is COVID, there is integrated disease surveillance, there is RCH, there is private health data, there is government health data, all in silos. ABHA helps in unifying this, and using a PHR app, you can actually see that information. And how well you see that information depends on the creativity of the PHR app. What is the best way? There are multiple PHR applications, and again there is a government reference application, but there are private applications which are being used much more than the government reference application. And then the citizens longitudinal health record. This is like an example of one Rani Devi, who under RCH program, Reproductive and Child Health Government program, she had at the time of her pregnancy trimester, her HB hemoglobin count was 9.8. She had 52 kgs of weight. She took IFA tablet at that point in time. This is one piece of information or one health record. Under IDSP, the disease surveillance program, it was recorded that at one point in time she had malaria. And then in a government hospital, she went for some urinary tract issue. She also went to a private hospital for a similar issue. What tablets was given, etc., was there. And then under COVID, she got her test done and she has a vaccine certificate. Now, all this information is available to anybody who is later on accessing this. It could be a frontline worker who is providing, let's say, it is her next pregnancy. Now she has all this information, or nurse, or a doctor, both public and private. So this is one typical use. This is how it is expected, or this is how the whole thing is going to come. And because this data is available, like I said, how intelligently this PHR or for that case the HMIS or the software that the provider is using is where the value comes in.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
What would happen to the legacy data that's already existing?
Great question. So again, innovation. So there is one app that says, A, you can book a service. Somebody will come, scan all your records. That gets in the form of PDF. They are also using AIML to extract the text and create your record. Or that is a cost-based thing. I mean, there's a fee-based. Or you are free to simply scan yourself if you are able to do it. So that way, all legacy records are coming.
Records that I have control on.
Right.
But let's say the data that's there in the hospital, my records.
Right. There are two things to it. One, let's say that hospital was maintaining a single unique record internally for you whenever you went. Then this ABHA and unique record linkage happen, and we are saying legacy records can be mapped. But for example, LALPAS, what do? Every time you go, they give you a new number. And in order to access your report for that particular instance, you have to enter your number and enter your last name, and then you see the record for that particular instance. But if internally he had some one ID linking all of them, which most places is not there, if he has it, then legacy records can automatically be done. If not, yes, that is a challenge. But then we have to start somewhere.
I agree, but there's no incentive for the providers to actually do that.
I'll come to it in DHIS.
Maybe at some point they will be incentivized for uploading the older records.
Yes.
I think you answered part of it, but my key question was that all these records are mandating has to be machine readable, or they can be like.
No, that is why I said unstructured, semi-structured, structured. If you are giving structured, super. If you are giving semi-structured, good. Even if you are giving me unstructured, handwritten data scanned and uploaded, we'll still live with it. But the objective is slow, because at the end of the day, let's say the PMJY program. In PMJY program, 26,000 hospitals are uploading their claims. Once my exchange is, because I will be like what you call the health claims exchange will be out, and we'll be starting. This is the new version of the transaction management system. We'll be probably using it from the next financial year onwards. I am planning to incentivize, saying that every claim that you submit in a digitized format, structured format, I give you 500 rupees more on top of whatever I'm giving you. That's an incentive. Because on the insurance provider side, see today, on an average, I as government, I'm spending close to 150 rupees on every claim to process. And every day there are 40,000 admissions. That's close to 12 lakh admissions happening in a month. 12 lakh into, and each one is a claim, 12 lakh into 150 rupees. What I'm saying is, if out of these 12 lakhs, some of them come in a digitized format, auto adjudication can happen. So whatever cost I'm putting in for doing a manual adjudication, that cost I'll transfer to the provider as an incentive. So this is how we are encouraging. The idea is like I can't mandate from day one saying that you should only give me 5 bundles in digital machine readable format. I mean that would be not only draconian but also impractical. So that is why there is this option of 3 types. Eventually the idea is to move. For example, if your Apple Watch is or your digital it is tracking your daily movements, let's think of an example. A diabetes patient goes to a doctor or endocrinologist, the endocrinologist looks at his current readings and say, okay, you take this medication and you do this exercise and come back after 2 months. When you come back after 2 months, come back with your regular sugar readings, and then we will see what happens. So let's assume he takes the medicine and he uses a fitness tracker, and 2 months later, and then let's say the fitness tracker is also ABDM enabled, because there is a wellness record that the fitness tracker can actually tell how many steps you have taken, how much amount, how many kilometers you have walked, what kind of. They also tell you whether it was an intensive exercise or not. This information is available as a wellness record. And then when after 2 months he comes to the doctor, now the doctor looks at the current reading, and again whatever there is a glucometer, for example, that also creates this record digitally whenever he is testing, and that also is linked to his ABHA. 2 months later, the doctor has two things in front of him. One, the range of blood sugar levels that he has recorded, let's say twice every week, and then his activity information, and then what is the current HbA1c value. So there, the doctor can actually see, okay, if the medicine, assuming the medicine was taken, and exercise was also done, no improvement, he'll change the dose. If exercise not what done, but medicine was taken, no improvement, he will say, "Bhaiya, thoda exercise karo." So the decision that is being taken by the doctor there is aided by the information provided. So the digital data comes in here. So or there are cases where physically this person is getting it tested and there is a PDF uploaded, but there are applications who are reading this information and creating that curve as to how your blood sugar levels are fluctuating over a period of time. So there is that problem.
So just one question, sorry, as a follow-up, you mentioned the devices, right, which are taking these readings are also ABDM compliant. I did not understand that.
In the sense, ABDM compliant in the sense, see, today there is, let's say, a fitness tracker or an
apparatus, right? As a BP apparatus or a glucometer, right? Okay.
BP apparatus or glucometer. Today there are devices where they are sending information and you are able to look at it on a mobile phone or a device, right? Or a phone. Now this information currently they are creating in a standard or a format that is proprietary or internal to them. We are saying while you do this internally, but by enabling or becoming ABDM enabled, you are also creating it in the form of that higher object. There are these stages of integration. M1, M2, I'll come to that.
Yeah, okay.
So once you are able to do that, your information, while it is available on your proprietary app, it is also available for any other application to be used. So that this information can be read by the health information user to decipher it, look at it, open it up, open the bundle, and then use the information provided. Yes.
These are actually user records in the reports. So is there an option for user to invalidate some of them or remove that from the registry? So for example, there is an erroneous record which got created. So can user report that to the provider to get it removed?
This is again a very, very valid question. Currently, the user can choose what records to be shared and what records to be available on the record, available for him as linked records, and what records to be not.
So you can, unlike the provider creates a record.
Provide, he may create any record. I can actually choose not to share that record. In fact, there is also an option where you can actually classify your records as extremely private and those that you can generally see. Something like, let's say, sexual health records. You may not want every doctor to see it. You want to share it only when you go to a specific doctor. And the consent framework actually allows you to select, or you can actually create two ABHA addresses. Just like your UPI ID, you have a XYZ at OKSBI and also XYZ at OKICS, right? So you have one ABHA number, like one Aadhaar number, and then you can have two multiple addresses, two different addresses. One you can use for storing your extremely private records that you would otherwise not share. One you can use for storing this. So that kind of flexibility is there. This additional feature of telling the guy to correct it, we don't have it digitally as of now. You could go and tell the person that ye mera record galat hai and he might change it. But he can always disable so that it will not be shared with anybody.
So the consent is going to be allowing you to decide whether you want to share that record.
I'll show you. You will appreciate it when I'll show you. Sure.
So a basic question around privacy. So let's say we have a device, our own device and have some records, health records in that. I mean, how does the privacy law come into picture? As in, once I link it to the ABA, it is governed by whatever.
Governed by the health data management policy currently being issued under ABDM. There is a data management policy which clearly states you typically have this meaningful use clause. No? Whoever has studied the US health system, there is something called meaningful. You cannot ask for data unless there is a reason for it. There is a meaningful reason for it. So therefore, without that meaningful reason, data cannot be going from B2B without your consent.
So once we link it, that's where our authority ends, right?
No, once you link it, you own your record forever,
Right.
or your record will not go from A to B unless you say that yes. Yeah.
So every time a doctor wants whatever record I have to approve.
Yes. Or you can actually, again, the consent artifact says that I am giving you this approval for next 1 month. So that every time you go, he did not ask for consent.
Right. So let's say I have the device and she is the user and you are the doctor, right?
You
So,
have the device.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
our device
Uh-huh.
and we have linked it to ABA and she is the user. So she goes to you. So do we have to approve every single time? Or
You will not know, you won't have to. It will be the user.
User.
Yes.
Okay.
Your job is to ensure that the data is available on demand.
I have a very interesting conversation and I was waiting for asking this question because so far we've covered out of pocket secondary and then we talked about PHR which is predominantly primary and then the buffer between the primary and the secondary. And then the very interesting conversation on who owns the data. Now typically there are PHR applications and governments are using it and I'm talking public health. So we talk public health, primary screening like you have your IDSP, etc. Now, similar conversation. We're talking a assisted model. We're talking illiterate citizens, which are assisted by the public health infrastructure. In that case, the relevance of ABA, creation of, linking it with ABA, no mandate, linking it with ABA, and then enabling the flow into basically, if you look at it from a bottom up, if you start from where you're starting at, talking 65% of the population, then we are kind of pushing the data into this particular realm of your secondary care. But my question here would be who owns the data in that scenario where you're using PHR screening with IoT devices and making it available in a central repository to be further flowed down into various programs by the government.
Right. So first thing is, this is always an interesting question. You go to a lawyer to file an affidavit, you give all the case details, and then who owns that affidavit? You or the lawyer? The answer broadly here is you own it, but the knowledge that the lawyer has put in or the additional knowledge he gains from treating or handling your case is something that he has learned. So it's a derived thing of it. So let's say he has handled a particular type of case. Tomorrow another type of similar case comes in. He can always refer back to this, which is also currently happening in the medical space also. At the same time, he cannot simply aggregate all that information and start selling it out. For that, he has to take your permission. That is where all the disclaimers come into it. And as far as the central repository thing is concerned, see, as part of NHM, National Health Mission, there are so many verticals in which different programs are there. Today, nobody talks to each other. One person could be having a Nikshay program TB. The same person could be also be having under NCD, non-communicable diseases. The same person also could be under some other
and different
right?
states to talk about.
And different states. No, same person in that state. No.
Yeah.
So now what we are saying is ABHA is going to be the common. Generally, these are government programs, so they can actually take a consent saying that we will use your anonymized aggregated data for other purposes. Because the idea is to use only anonymized aggregated data. If some personal level data has to be used for certain, because at the end of the day, I also need to see what happened to a person living in particular area, fluorosis case or something like that. So that is where there are only 2 or 3 cases. The level of PI information that I need to take, even if there are only 2 cases in a district, It is very easily identified. Right? So that is where informed consent and deemed consent kind of thing will come. And the last thing is using that data for public health. See, there is always this. There is a government clause is a general public benefit. If I am, that is what is the another program that we are doing, where we are saying that while all of you are creating data, I am not asking for the data, but I am going to create a data lake where all of you contribute anonymized aggregated data. I will give you the anonymization standards. There will be a public key, private key mechanism. The data will flow in. I will generate insights out of it. As a contributor, you also benefit.
The PI is removed from the demo.
That is again one area where people get started innovating. So for example, there is an HMIS which is contributing to this. Now a doctor is using that HMIS. Therefore, he also has access to the insights from the data. A patient comes and says, I come from so and so place and I am suffering with these symptoms. If there is the system is already, let's say, using that information, it can say, okay, this place has reported many cases of whatever, filaria or whatever, which match with the symptoms. That will aid the doctor in actually saying, zeroing down on it. And then a CDSS on top of it will actually be able to give much more detailed things. So eventually, we can move to a stage where doctors are so well informed with all this information, the diagnosis becomes much quicker. So that's the
How could that help policymakers, for example?
Oh, very much. I can create heat maps for the entire country and say, let's say, antimicrobial resistance, or what we have this antibiotic resistance. That I can actually see by different lab reports that are being uploaded what vector or what microbe is reacting to what.
No, that's fine. I mean, it is definitely going to be useful, but how? Sorry, I'll reframe the question. How will the policymakers get access to this kind of information?
This anonymized data lake that is being created will have an interface where I as an IDSP can see this information, because as of now I'm only seeing my IDSP. Now I can intersperse it with geographical information from other programs and see अच्छा जहाँ पर disease का particular vector borne disease आ रहा है वहाँ पर there is some other disease also, and wherever, let's say, उसके साथ साथ there is also thing that chloroquine was used wherever malaria was there, was it effective or not. See, these are layers of data. This is available. This is being made available to the government level programs to ensure that they use the data to whichever way. See, data is available. You can use it in whichever way.
I'm hoping that this is across states, like coming back to my
Across the country.
So that, yeah, that's what I'm saying. When the lake is created,
it is for the entire country.
While health remains a state subject.
Yes.
And the state is responsible to its citizens.
Yes.
How does it flow, probably from a policy standpoint, into a national?
We decided. See, I was MD National Health Mission Madhya Pradesh in 2016. That was just the time when NCD started becoming important. That was when the NCD program has just started. How did we realize it? There was some information flow that came in saying that X percentage of the population has diabetes, and there is a shift from vector-borne infectious diseases to chronic diseases. This information came in from somewhere. It took time for us to realize it, because by then there has already been quite a bit of spread. The objective is that this information that is being collected will actually help in arriving at these decisions even faster. Right?
I will just remind you that
time is up.
Unless.
My next meeting is like 1.5 hours now.
Yeah, but have lunch also.
This is better. Another use case is, like I said, IoT devices. The same diabetes example that I gave you. And then scan and share, I've already told you, right? What scan and share is being used for and how this works. Now scan and share is being currently used in 23 states, 371 hospitals. More than 5 lakh patients have already used. 5 lakh into an average of 1 hour. So 5 lakh man hours we have saved because of this. And not only man hours, look at the convenience. Let's say a pregnant woman is coming for her regular testing. Instead of like standing in the queue, she gets a QR code, she gets a number, she's sitting somewhere and then getting it. Yeah, please.
Do these 5.1 lakh beneficiaries already have an Aadhaar number, or
it is required. You can create it there.
So do they know that they have an Aadhaar number?
What it doesn't matter. You have it, you can use it. If you don't have it, you give your Aadhaar. The system will respond saying that this is your Aadhaar.
Yeah, maybe when you come back.
Hmm.
Maybe when you come back.
Yes, and that's a very interesting show. There is one app, I'll not name which app, where they have found that people who have at least used the scan and share facility once are not deleting their app anymore. The stickiness is coming in. And 40% of the scan and share users are repeat users. So people are getting into that habit. The first time, yes, there is that is why all these hospitals, we have standees, we have people. So because we are creating microsites across the country, there's one going on in Dharavi. We are now starting one in Ahmedabad, another one in I think in Nagpur, Rishikesh, all these in Lucknow, where group of hospitals are identified and then it gets better. So the country is a decent number. We are and on a daily basis we are creating close to 18,000 tokens. So 18,000 different patients are getting benefited on a daily basis. The objective is to hit 50,000 by end of March, double it in the next maybe 4-5 months. So that's how we want to increase. So I mean, to give you a ballpark, it is estimated that close to 600 crore health transactions happen in the country. OPD, IPD, etc., all combined. That averages out to about 2 crore per day, right? That means every interaction, even if only 2 records are being created, that is about 4 crore records a day, health records. Today, the ABD in the ABDM system, we've already hit a peak where 72 lakh records were pushed into our system. So the scalability is already proven, plus things are already coming. Now, how to integrate with ABDM? I mean, how do you become part of this? So, we have a sandbox system, which is simply a replica of our live system with all the APIs. You come in, you integrate, you test, and then you go through this, what you call the functional testing and security audit, where we see that whatever response we are giving you, are you able to respond back? Are you able to unbundle the fire? Are you able to create the fire? Are you able to create ABA? Once that is tested and security audit is done, the health tech committee, this is a very simple process. The tech committee says that okay, all okay, and then we give you the production piece. Now, the experience is like there are entities who have taken months to integrate, and also there are who have integrated in 4 days. It is dependent on the maturity of the teams that are trying to integrate, and at the same time, we are also trying to make the process easier and simpler going. I mean, day by day. So the documentation is improving on a daily basis. In fact, we are actually partnering with those who have already integrated in improving the documentation. Bhaiya batao what happened. Plus, we have forums. As an integrator, you come into a forum, you say that I have this problem. People who have already faced that problem are responding to me. This was one case where one particular app was facing a problem for 2 months. They tried. Then finally somebody said, "Hey, bhaiya, usme there is an uppercase, lowercase issue." Then immediately it was solved. So there is like, that's the beauty of this. We have actually, even the unified health interface, all those apps you have seen, they actually were part of building the protocol itself. Everything is being, I mean, the entire code is on GitHub. The entire protocol is on GitHub. Everything is being done in collaboration and in partnership. And this is where we are saying, this is not a government run thing or government. We are only providing the rails. You run the trains. We will of course run our Vande Bharat. You may want to bring your bullet train quicker. Right? So that's the basic idea, that we create the rails and then everybody coming in. And we create that enabling atmosphere. And this is where the incentive scheme comes in. In fact, I have not put a slide. In fact, maybe I can open the web page and show you what it looks like. But
So accessing this is all, we can just connect and then it's all free, is it?
yes, it's all free.
Okay.
It's all free.
I'll just add on, for all those who are here, part of Team Up and Rich Network, you can register and share me your email ID. Dr. Narendra Singh from their team, he will help us to get approval, the first step, so that you can start integrating the sandbox.
So Narendra is the adoption guy. So he will then we have a team under him, and who will say make sure that. So these are the different building blocks available in Sandbox. So you want to test your ABHA Health ID app, you want to test your mobile app, you want to test your HPR integration, HFR, Sandbox Health Provider Repository. There is actually a dummy HMI system sitting here, which will then respond to what you're doing. Whether your record that is being created is being able to be read here, or whether a record that this has created, you are able to read it or not. So all these things happen in the Sandbox. Then this is a typical flow of information enabled, the milestones that we say. The first milestone is being able to create an ABHA. You do an EKYC, Aadhaar EKYC, you hit our system. We have an engine that creates a 14-digit number based on Lun's algorithm. That is an algorithm that is typically used for credit card number generation, right? On Lun's, where the last 2 digits is the checksum and the remaining is the number. The number has no intelligence. That's the core. Again, you cannot define from a number whether this is a Andhra Pradesh number or a Tamil Nadu number or a UP number. The number has no intelligence. You cannot infer any information. That's again one of the things. Then the second one is to link the records that you have generated. You should be able to create that file bundle and then link it to the ABHA address and send me that link so that I store it in my table. And the third one is to be able to share a record when asked, and then resolve, and the other person should be able to resolve it and see. So this is how broadly the whole integration process works. Now coming to the DHIS solution, DHIS, Digital Health Incentive Scheme. So in order to promote digitization, what we are saying is people who are linking records will be incentivized. It could be a lab, it could be a hospital. For every record, there is like, you have to be linking at least 100 records in a month. That is the minimum threshold. Then for every record, you get, I think, 20 rupees. Now, that is for a hospital, that is going to a hospital or a lab. What is there for the developer of that software? We are saving for every piece of incentive I give to that, 25% I'll give to the software. So if a hospital is getting 20 rupees for getting a record, the person or the entity that built that software is getting 5. So this is simply put the incentive scheme. And this has been live since 1st of January. There are multiple entities who have registered, and we are in the process of disbursing our first thing. We are doing it on a monthly basis now. We are automating it so that it becomes even quicker. Maybe we do a weekly turnaround. But this is the incentive. Another incentive is, if you are a digital health solution provider, what we are saying is, and we are actually first identifying you as one of our partners because you have done this integration. After that, we are giving you L1 and L2 support in form of our call center. We give you a dedicated toll-free number. The set of call center of the executives are dedicated for you, so that anybody using your software can call and get the initial support. So that is going to bring down your initial cost of running it. Once it becomes big and once it becomes viable, you are free to take over. That is why different toll-free number for different software. There's no single toll-free number. So tomorrow you come in, you get your toll-free number, and you are L1, L2. You can decide. You get your data, you get everything. You can decide to continue with this, or you can decide to run it on your own. So that is another. Yeah.
Is the incentive same for structured and unstructured data?
No differences. No difference. To begin with, maybe 6 months down the line, we will slightly tweak it, or 1 year down the line, we will tweak it. But for now, any type of data, any record that you link is counted as. So, in fact, maybe I will share the DHIS policy. In fact, it's there on our web page, but I'll share it separately. You can circulate it among the people who have registered. Right? So, broadly, that is the story. Over the more than 90 plus systems have integrated. Government health programs, government health solutions. These are some of the private players. There are many more. I can put only so many logos in a slide.
Talking about data and data privacy security. So on top of data, so the important aspect is how the data is captured. So the major source where data is captured is the healthcare provider. So they've been using HMIS and LMIS. So you've been talking about integration of these HMI and element
Yes.
ABDM.
Yes.
So in the case of ABDM, the cost involved for the companies which are trying to integrate ABDM.
See, you want to do it yourself, you have a development team, you can do it. I mean, it's basically how you integrate with any API. For example, let's say in your HMIs, you are providing a PAN verification process. The income tax department had shared a PAN verification API, just like you are doing eKYC, right? They have shared an API, you are hitting the API, sending the results, getting back the PID block, and then you are, right? Similarly, you can. Otherwise, we have also empaneled some vendors who are helping those entities who do not have that kind of expertise to be able to do it. There is a cost involved. That is an agreement between you and that company. We are not coming in between. We say that you are the best negotiator. You negotiate. We are also increasing that number going ahead every day. Yes.
And
So I think you have
the
one more
list
follow
of
up.
those vendors would be available in the website?
Yes. Maybe I should run you through the website.
To follow up on the same thing. So these vendors that you're talking about, as a company that we've been trying to integrate with ABDM. So do you think maybe you can come up with incentives for these small companies who charge huge amount can be a difficult fee for us to integrate with ABDM? So do you think maybe we can incentivize these smaller companies who are trying to come through with these vendors to integrate?
Now tell me one thing. As government or someone who is trying to propagate, see, my ultimate objective is bring records into the system. So where is the best place for me to put my incentive? The best place for me to put my incentive is when you actually create value to me by leaking records. If I simply help you integrate, then you don't do anything. What happens? That is why I'm saying you build your software. I'm giving you L1 and L2 support again to propagate your software further. But asking me to bring down the cost or provide an additional incentive for startups to do this integration process. First thing is, most of the time it's not a very complicated thing. Most of the time you should be able to do it yourself. If you are trying to do it through a different entity, then I think it is a decision, conscious decision that one is taking. And it is again a negotiation between them because there are plain vanilla support that these empaneled people give. There are also value-added solutions. In fact, there is also a connector. If you, let's say you are an HMIS, you don't want to go through all this integration process. And because there may be some change in the API, at that time you also have to change the product. There are connectors who are coming in between and saying, "Bhai, you just integrate it first, baki sara hum dekenge. Everything else we will do." So that is also a quick way of doing it. And that connectors and you have an agreement, and of course we also put a binding thing on them that you will not store data, you will not use data for anything. So it is only a pass through. And the connector again will have some arrangement between you and them.
For incentive also, all the kind of data qualifies, like unstructured.
Yes, that's what I answered.
So, sir, we will take a question from online participants.
Yes, sure, yes, that's also one important. I think
The incentive is transaction based or?
Hello, High Court.
Transaction.
You can ask.
But then limit on one number of transactions per patient.
What is the basis for that limit?
I think per patient maybe some 5 or 10 records in a month. It's not like you can execute. I have a call from the. Yes. Hello. Okay, मैं 10 मिनट में लगाऊं? ये चलो बात करा दी। हाँ, करा दी।
Okay, there are other people also here. You can upload this.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. We didn't know where and all it went. We were thinking it was Tina Bendrich. Yeah, who approached me.
Hello, High Kaushik.
I don't know.
Hey, I can hear you, or I can talk.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yeah.
Give a second, Kaushik.
Sir is joining.
Sir is coming.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
There are coordinates under that. So we can. So if you have Arvind, you can reach out to him. Yeah, Arvind Kumar, if you have that email ID, reach out.
You also share the presentation.
Yeah, sorry.
Can we take?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, Kaushik, go ahead.
Hi. Thank you for the presentation today. I just had a question. I think you alluded to the point that how you are going to incentivize people for digitization. I mean, the scenario is something similar what happened in US, right? In 2008, when Obama government incentivized them, but the usage was mostly driven towards like a payer system or a billing system because it's not a value-based care, right? It's a fee-based care, which is similar to what is in India. How can we ensure that doesn't happen with ABDM? And the second question was, how do we leverage like this data lake that you were talking about in providing like the public health programs, for example, for diabetes or cancer or stroke? If you can talk to those 2 points, that would be great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sure. Thanks for the question, Kaushik.
Yeah.
So what I'd say is, see, this incentivization that we are doing, obviously it compares nothing to what Obamacare did. They in fact spent $40 billion. We are nowhere near that number. I mean, and it was never our objective to actually make it an incentive-driven thing entirely. This is only an initial thing where we are saying that early, this is an early offer kind of, because this is new and because this is I mean, there has to be a reason for people to come on. I mean, while we can start creating different use cases, while we can start creating different ways in which people can start benefiting, but I think at the bottom of it, everybody feels that what is in it for me, at least in the short term. In the long term, of course, data monetization will come in, the health information data that PHR applications are collecting with the consent of the user may actually be using it for different purposes, of course, with consent and all. So I think the objective of ABDM is never to go the incentive way. So that way we are very, very clear. And the government is also very clear. And this is only an initial offering or something like that to just begin. This is more, I would rather not call it even an incentive, it's more like an IEC activity to let more and more people know. That is a word of mouth thing that, okay, and imagine there is a cap at how much somebody can earn as a form of an incentive, so that not one big entity, but a state.
Exactly. Yeah.
There is a cap
exactly.
there. And
okay, perfect.
There are two doctors. One is a super special guy and he is well known, and there is one more doctor. But tomorrow on my webpage, I show that, Dr. A is one of our leading winners of the institute. Everybody looks for recognition, big or small. So then even the special guy will think, can't I also get my name? This guy is becoming popular. It is only to get that healthy competition done, and this is not going to be a permanent feature. We don't want to drive adoption by institute. Consider this as easy only, right? And the second part about data lake, it is like it's a participatory model. You contribute, and you also gain access. This is still the conceptualization stage. We are working with the Harvard Medical School and also MIT and also Stanford, because they have different models. So we are trying different ways. We are not tying it to one particular way. There's something called I2B2 that is done by the Harvard Medical School. There is another model. In fact, we internally also are planning to create one bridge that will help in getting this anonymized data. I think we are still taking baby steps in that, because now today we have close to we have crossed 25 crore records, health records, mostly from the PMJY side. But now records will start coming in from the HMIS. That will actually become the real, because the PMJY data would be slightly biased because they are all procedure related data, because somebody has already been, it will give me some trend, but the generic trend will come from data coming from HMI solution. So now that we have sufficient number of records, is now a case where we are building. So the objective is that people will be able to participate in it as long as they are also contributing. It is a give and take model. That's the broad framework I can tell you right now.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yeah. Due to time limit, only one last question from the virtual audience, please. Either Pariksha or Srilata. The other questions we can take it offline.
This is Arvind. I would like to ask a question. It's okay.
Yeah.
Sure,
So
sure.
hi, Mr. Kiran. My name is Arvind Sinha, and we at Health Compass is trying to be IBDM compliant software, and we work in the same space, almost every area you described. So we recently launched our MVP last month, and we are trying to make a sale. What I face the most, and I would like to seek your opinion that how that is actually going to play out is a lot of confusion about like who owns the data. So our primary audiences are small clinicians. So we started with them, and actually we also want to do the OPD for the small hospitals, right? A lot of questions or resistance we get is about that. Oh, it's my data. I don't want to put it on cloud. How do we plan to overcome that in the overall scheme perspective? Because its education is not possible from our end, right?
Right. You are absolutely right. And this is a very, very valid question. And quite honestly, as of today, the broad principle is that the patient is the owner of the data. He is the data principal. Right?
Right.
Now,
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, yes. Yes, I agree.
So the DP bill, right? The privacy bill, it has been floated. That will actually clarify a lot more things. Now, how do you encourage someone to come onto cloud and start using it? I mean, as of now, there is no what you call regulatory push or a mandate or making it compulsory. But
right.
there is already a thought process in that direction where we are saying that we could come up. Again, this is the reason, right? Health is a state subject. This is a scheme run center. But
right.
anything related to technology is again a central. So I will say e-health is a central.
Okay.
So I will have to play something here to be able to pass on. Otherwise, if I ask states to see how many states, only 13 states have adopted the what is that? No. Aishman only 3 states are now done it. This one here, clinical establishment act that governs hospitals and labs. Individual states have their own versions. There is no standard clinical establishment act across the country. If I were to bring something, a regulation that will work across the country, we will have to have a work through. That is why the role of NHA as a digital health regulator comes in. By virtue of running the big insurance program, by virtue of being the one who sets the standards for ABDM. So that is where this whole thing comes in. It will come eventually. It's only a matter of when, not how.
All right. Thank you.
One small question. This is Srilata Reddy from Happily Ever. So, can I know how can we do? I mean, how can we approach offline? Is it a mail or a contact number?
Yeah,
Since
I'll share my email ID and mobile number. You can approach me. Yeah, like due to time constraint, like we had to limit the questions. And
okay.
Yeah, in case if you have more questions, you can reach out to me and we will direct to the.
Feel free to share my email ID also. I mean, in fact, Abhi, I should have put it on the slide. My mistake. I'm sorry for that. You can write to me at ed.it.
1 minute, sir.
1 minute, sir.
Yeah. ed.it.
Is it E for elephant?
I'm putting it in the text.
Echo Delta dot India Tango at NHA. November Hotel Alpha dot gov.in.
Sure. Thank you.
Yep. And of course, PHub is actually going to be also one.
So I think from Rich will share his ID as well.
If I don't respond, you push PHub, we call that fellow to respond.
Sir, hi, I'm Pariksha. I'm not going to take much time. I just have 2 requests. If you have 1 more minute.
Yeah. In fact, I also intend to show a 2-minute video. Dekhna chahiye aapko isse. Yeah, please go ahead, Pariksha.
So we are building a tele-nutrition stack, especially the lifestyle data. I just wanted to request, how do we bring it to a national level? I still see quite a bit on physical activity, but not on the nutrition and dietary diversity in our country. So we're building that. Just wanted to take your guidance that how we can take that stack and, make it a part of health data as well. And second, we are working on a population set of first 1,000 days of nutrition till 19 years of age, because we don't have data in our country, especially for 6 to 19 years of age. And for that, I need support to collect this data on dietary intake as well as micronutrient deficiencies. And we are working on an AI tool for which data collection is a core. And I'm going to need some support there and how I can quickly speed up the data collection.
Okay. So you have my email ID. Let
Yes,
us offline on this. Write to me. I'll respond and see what are different ways we can collaborate.
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Now we will go through the website overview.
abdm.gov.in. Yes, but eventually you will have to have that live linking at one point, right? Because if you have it, if your records are offline, how are you going to give it to me once I request for the record?
So pharmacy records are also a part of it.
Yes,